Hey guys! A very, very happy, if belated, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, all that good stuff to everybody out there. I hope you had a wonderful holiday season. Today is December 31st, so it's the last day of 2012, and I wanted to fit in one more reading update video. So to give you guys sort of a quick update on me, I've kind of, to be honest with you, been struggling with whether or not I should keep this channel going. Also, my book blog as well. Yeah, I kind of get a little discouraged at times. But I haven't decided anything yet. So anyway, yeah, so my final reading update video of 2012. And I haven't really read all that many books. I did have, however, make my goal, my reading challenge goal on Goodreads of reading 175 books. As of yesterday, I have read 181, so I surpassed my goal. And I think for 2013, I'm going to up my challenge to 185 books. So, and for those of you out there who thinks that's insane that I read that many books, I actually have a couple of friends who have read over 200. I have one friend who read 400 books this past year. How she managed to do that, and even if she's actually telling the truth, I have no idea. But whatever. So, the few books I wanted to talk about, I'm going to start off with one that, if you're a YA fan, you've probably already heard of, if not read, and it is Slammed by Colleen Hoover. Slammed and the sequel, Point of Retreat, have both been sitting on my Kindle for a long time, and I just never got around to reading it. I finally did last week, and I have to say that I really, really enjoyed it. Colleen Hoover is just an absolutely amazing author. She's got a writing style that's very unique. It's very what's the word? It's very accessible. You know, as soon as you start one of her books, you feel like you're in the story. However, I will say her books are heavy subject matter. Which is why I have not read Point of Retreat yet, because I read two of her books back to back, which was kind of a little too overwhelming for me. But in case you don't know what it's about, Slammed is about a girl who moves with her mother and her younger brother to Michigan from Texas after her father dies. And she meets the boy across the street, and his name is Will. And she comes to find out that he is 21 and he is single-handedly raising his younger brother, who's also 9. And the two bond. And the girl's name is Lakin, by the way, which I love that name. I think it's a beautiful, unique name. And the two bond, and they go out on this one date, which turns out to be like this most perfect day ever for both of them. And this is kind of a spoiler, but not really, because you find out really early in the book that this happens. But it turns out that Will is a teacher. Even though he's 21, he's a teacher at her high school, so the two of them can't be together. So therefore, the angst starts because of that. But there's a lot of other stuff that happens involving Lakin's family. And I have to mention this if I'm talking about this book, is that Will's passion in life is slam poetry, so that's where the title comes from. And Colleen Hoover uses the poetry. It's almost like the third main character of the book is poetry. And she does such a great job of weaving it into the story, and the performances are such an important part of the storyline. It's just great. So I absolutely love the book. She's only written 3 books, and she's become, after I've only read 2 of them, she's become definitely one of my favorite authors. So 5 huge stars on Goodreads, and it was definitely one of the best books I read in 2012. Okay, so the next 2 books I wanted to talk about, and it's the Dark Duet series by C.J. Roberts. The first book is Captive in the Dark, and the second book is Seduced in the Dark. These books are about as adult as you can get. There's nothing YA about them at all, even though the main character is 18 years old. So at the very beginning, Well, let me just say that this is another instance where I've had both books sitting on my Kindle for a long time. The first one, I've had it forever on my Kindle, but I was kind of psyching myself up to try and read it, but I knew I had to be in the right frame of mind to do it. But I finally decided to read it. And the very first scene, the book opens, we're introduced to the female character of Livy, who is 18, and she has a very sort of bleak and depressing home life. And really the only thing she looks forward to every day is going to school. And this one day she misses her school bus, and she's standing on the street, and she's just really, really upset. And this car pulls up with this really sketchy guy inside, and of course this freaks her out. And, she sort of bolts down the street, and she sees this man walking towards her, and she kind of throws herself at him and begs him to play along, to pretend that she's with him, so the guy in the car will leave her alone. And the guy plays along, the guy in the car drives away, and Livy is, sort of relaxed about it, and relaxed to the point where she actually starts to kind of shyly flirt with this guy that she meets on the street, her sort of knight in shining armor. And the guy sort of just blows her off, says he's got to go meet somebody, and so Livy is kind of, she's embarrassed. And the scene ends. The very next scene, Livy wakes up, and she's bound and gagged in the back of a truck. And she's been kidnapped. Not by a sketchy guy in the car, but by the cute guy on the street. And you come to find out very, very quickly that the cute guy in the street, whose name is Caleb, has been planning on her kidnapping for quite a while. And you also find out very quickly, and it's laid out crystal clear exactly what his intentions are with her, and the reason behind the kidnapping. So as you're reading the story, that thought is in your head the entire time, and it's a very, very terrifying thought. I will say that. I'm not going to say anything else about the plot of either book. I just kind of wanted to lay the groundwork to give you an idea of how it starts off. C.J. Roberts, Captive in the Dark was the very first book she ever wrote, and it's amazing to me that she was a first-time author, because this book absolutely, completely knocked me on my ass. She is an absolutely phenomenal author. She manages to take what has to be one of the darkest, most frightening concepts for a story, and doesn't take away the darkness, doesn't take away the foreboding of, the experience of reading the book, but completely turns it around and makes you feel emotions towards the characters that you never expected you would ever feel. I mean, at the very beginning of Captive in the Dark, you feel a certain way, and at the end of Seduced in the Dark, you feel a completely different way. That probably sounds really vague and confusing, but I can't really say anything else than that, because if you're going to read these books, you need to experience them, and trust me, they are dark. They're very, very, very dark. And a lot of what is in the books is not easy to read, but I promise you that if you go into them with an open mind, you will enjoy the experience. It might not be an easy experience, but it is a great experience. So both books are also on my favorites of 2012 list. So if you have the desire to read something a little different, I highly recommend the series, because it's just fantastic. Okay, and the last book I want to talk about today is another book by Colleen Hoover, and it just came out a couple weeks ago, actually, and it's called Hopeless. Hopeless is an absolutely beautiful, brilliant, heartbreaking story about a girl named Sky and a boy named Dean Holder, but everybody calls him Holder. And this book is not really YA. It's definitely firmly in the new adult category. Sky has grown up has led a very sheltered life. Her mother doesn't believe in technology, so she doesn't have a computer. TV, a cell phone. She was homeschooled, but she convinces her mother to let her finish her senior year at a public school. And one day she is in a grocery store and she meets Holder. His reaction to seeing her seems very strange and kind of freaks Sky out. One minute he looks like he might remember her from somewhere, and then the next minute he seems really pissed off. After that, it almost seems like he's stalking her, because everywhere she goes, he's there, and he seems to be trying to find out any kind of information he can about her. And despite a very rocky start, the two become very good friends, and they fall in love. And another thing about Sky is that she pretty much makes out with a lot of boys, and when she does, she never feels anything. She kind of feels numb, which is part of the reason why she makes out with a lot of boys. So there are underlying issues there, obviously, that she has to deal with. But one of the things that draws her to Holder is that he is the first boy she's ever met that actually makes her feel something. So she's very intrigued by that. So that's the main crux, the layout, the framework of the story. But there's also an incredibly heavy underlying story. Once again, I mentioned earlier when I was talking about Slammed, Colleen Hoover deals with a lot of really serious subject matter, and this book is no exception. This book, I finished it like maybe 5 or 6 days ago, and it is hands down the best book I read all year, and I managed to read quite a few really good books, so that's saying a lot. This book completely knocked me out. I laughed, I fangirled, and at the end of this book, I was sobbing like a child. I was sobbing like a baby. There are so many aspects to this story that I loved, and if anybody out there watching my videos ever takes my advice on picking up a book and reading it, listen to me, people. I don't care if you like YA. I don't care if you like new adult fiction. I don't care what kind of books you like. Get Hopeless by Colleen Hoover and read it, because it is an experience that I think everybody should have. It is that good. It's one of those books that I will never forget. And I think that the fact that I read Slammed right after reading this book kind of did a disservice to that book, because I couldn't help but compare it to Hopeless, and in my opinion, Hopeless is pretty much perfect. So, but anyway, yeah, so that's my rambling update video. So anyway, that's it for now. I will talk to you guys later, hopefully, and thanks for all the support and for watching, and for those of you who have stayed with me and stayed subscribed to my channel. I appreciate it. So I will talk to you guys later, and as always, if you have any questions or whatever, you can message me or leave me a comment, or yeah, I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.